Hello, everybody. Welcome to Absolutely Obscure with Josh and Rory. I'm Rory.
I'm Josh.
This is a podcast where we talk about movies you definitely have never heard of. So this week we are talking about Funkytown.
Yes.
Funkytown, this was released in 2011. This has a 6.4 on IMDb with 936 votes. So this was getting a little too not obscure for our podcast.
Okay.
Just under the cusp.
I'm happy about that, though.
Yeah.
For this movie, I think.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
No. I'm excited. And then we had 549 people on Letterboxd have seen this. This is from director Daniel Roby. And now this movie, quick note, is from set in Montreal. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of French in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Josh, but the way I procured this movie did not come with subtitles. So
yes. There's a little behind the scenes. How the pudding's made. I don't know the saying, but how Rory, we're coming up the elevator, and Rory's like, "You might have to carry one of the recordings." So now I'm
clue it in. I want to look directly at the camera when I say this. Go fuck yourself, Apple TV, because that's where I tried to watch it and it wouldn't let me.
Yeah, and Absolutely Obscure, hoping to be on Apple Podcasts pretty soon.
Soon to be on Apple Podcasts. So please pay us money. But yes, so this.
Okay, yeah, I did get it on Apple TV, so I do have the.
Okay.
I did have the
subtitles.
Yes.
Now I do speak a little bit of French. Parlez-vous français?
No.
Yeah.
I get to.
I don't know. You might not. But also, it's Quebecois French, so
right.
I couldn't understand
Butchered.
a goddamn word.
They butchered the good language.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I also feel like this is a movie where, even not understanding everything being said, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's very true.
I do have a quick question. Is this the most depressing movie we've come across so far?
I would say so, yes.
This gets pretty dark.
Yeah, very dark.
Yeah.
It's set in 1976.
1976, Montreal, and it's about disco.
Yeah.
It's all about disco.
The disco scene, the club scene.
Yeah.
The movers and shakers. Let that happen, you know?
And it's about how disco robs you of everything you love in life.
Oh, I was going to say it's about how disco was awesome.
I mean, it was awesome, and then it quickly stopped becoming awesome.
It shows how you can spiral pretty
pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an ensemble-y piece.
Yeah.
We'll say our main character, I'd say, is Bastien.
Yeah. Played
by Patrick Huard.
Yeah.
Did you recognize him?
It was bothering me, and then I had to look him up because I haven't seen Bon Cop, Bad Cop.
Yes.
But I have watched Starbuck.
Okay.
Which,
I don't know that one.
So I know Vince Vaughn made a movie that was the same idea. It's the story, the true story of it's like the most. It's the sperm donor with the most children out there.
Okay.
And then so his kids all.
I thought
came
you said
together.
Vin Diesel. And
sorry, I might have said Vince.
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Vince Vaughn. They remade it with him in America, and so the kids had a class action lawsuit to find out who the dad was, I believe, and then so he played the donor.
Dad. Oh, crazy!
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, nice.
And and then because I didn't realize, like I haven't seen. I know in Bon Cop, Bad Cop, he's like a fit.
He's the bad cop. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to see it now, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good in this.
Yeah, Bon Cop, Bad Cop, pretty fun. For anyone who's American, they do not know what we're talking about.
No, that's
here.
is that the highest grossing?
It's one of the highest grossing Canadian movies of all time.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I guess we should just explain to people who might not know. Quebec only speaks French. It's a very French part of Canada.
And not only that, but it also very much speaks it's a way of French where they will bounce in and out of English, which they do a lot in this movie.
They do a lot, which thank God, or else I would be not. But also, they have their own film industry. They have a strong, massive film industry and arts industry in Quebec that we don't get to enjoy outside of Quebec and Canada, basically. There's like truly famous people in Quebec that will only be famous in Quebec, but they can have massive careers.
Right.
And Patrick Huard is probably one of their like top actors.
That makes sense. Yeah.
There was another actor whose name I did actually recognize here too.
Oh, Justin Chatwin.
I didn't recognize him, but I did see him and be like, that guy should play Goku. This little Italian twink should play Goku. That's what we're all wanting. No, Justin Chatwin is in this movie, and he is famous for infamous for playing Goku in the terrible Dragon Ball Z evolution.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Shameless, and he was in season 1 of that.
Oh, okay. Only made it to season 1.
Yeah, he left for some reason.
For some reason, we'll see. He plays Tino. He has a girlfriend named Tina of Fun Play. She's played by Romina Duggo. I wrote all their names down this time, folks. We're getting better at this. Then we also have Jonathan, played by Paul Doucette, who is kind of like the queen of the disco, basically.
Like fashionista.
Yeah,
and very much into what's trendy in the disco scene.
What any of these people do, for the most part, no idea. They seem to have a lot of money for people who just disco.
They're trendsetters.
Yes. That was a job at one point.
It was. In 1976 Montreal it was.
Then we also have Giles.
Oh, yeah.
Giles.
Yeah.
Who is an old record producer. He produces disco stuff.
Yeah.
And he owns a club with his son, Daniel. Their subplot, all in French. So, so you're going to literally don't speak English to each other once the entire
You know what?
movie.
I'm actually sad for you because that was my low-key favorite storyline of the movie.
So it was one that I definitely still understood what was happening.
It makes sense, yeah.
And the son is played by Francois Laterne, who's that is a name I recognize, but it might just be the most French name you could have. And I'm just like, I've heard that name before.
Jacques Bibliothèque, I've heard that. I've definitely heard that name somewhere.
It'd be like if I saw an Irish person who's just like, oh, Patrick McGill. Yeah, I know a Patrick McGill, the famous Patrick McGill.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the last one I'll highlight just right now of the cast is Adriana, who is like a supermodel kind of thing. Figure.
Up-and-comer.
Yes. She's played by Sarah Mulch. Since Josh will ask, she did not do adult work later on.
I obviously looked it up already, and no, she does not.
That's just a section of our podcast now.
Also, if you're wondering, Romina doesn't either, okay? That was the other name I did.
But Mimi. No. Okay, so we start off with... what the fuck is his name? Bastian.
Bastian, yeah.
So Bastian, he is a married man. He has lots of jobs. He hosts a radio show. And I feel like that's his main job.
Yeah.
We'll see later that he makes so much money, and I don't know how. He does that. He also hosts a TV show, which is just dancing.
Disco Dance Party, baby.
Disco Dance Party.
Yeah.
And then
kind of like a white, less cool Soul Train, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, the dancing in this, truly horrendous across the board. And then he also goes out clubbing frequently, discoing.
Which I can't believe I don't have it written here. Maybe I do somewhere. But the club name, I'm blanking on the club name.
It was
like the Starlight, I think?
Starlight, yes.
Yeah.
So one problem I had with this movie is that it is supposed to be based on a true story.
Right.
And it's very lightly based on a true story. Yeah. And we'll get to the ending, but the ending ends with like title cards about what happened to the people.
Right.
And then none of it is true.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
I think it must have been they were like avoiding lawsuits because I think there already had been a lawsuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. So anyways, he goes to this club and he's kind of frenemies with Jonathan.
Yeah, with the fashionista guy.
Yeah. So basically they work together at the TV show. Jonathan is like, oh, here's the up and coming thing, and then here's some white people dancing, folks. And that's what the show is. Yeah. It was the 70s in Montreal. I can't imagine much was going on. And so they're at this club together, and Bastien gets introduced to Adriana.
Yeah.
By her really talkative and kind of annoying
manager lady.
It's never established what their relationship really is. She seems to be a manager
because she's with an older gentleman before.
Yes,
seems like it was kind of be like, oh, go sit beside this old man and maybe you'll have a career in the industry. but she locks eyes with Bastian across the room. It's like there's kind of a spark or whatever.
There's a spark there.
Yeah.
And he invites her to, hey, you should come audition for the TV show kind of thing. And it's very obvious that he is going to sleep with this woman.
Yeah.
Pretty much from the start. At the same time as this, Jonathan meets up with Tino and...
Tina.
Tina. I was going to call her Tano.
Old Tano, yeah.
Old Tano. Tino and Tina.
He sees them outside the club,
and
right?
Tina had apparently been at his apartment earlier with just like a bunch of people partying kind of thing. And she had told him, oh, you should wear this jacket.
Yeah, this white coat, this white fur coat.
I know it's not winter, but you'll pull it off.
It'll be a statement.
Yes.
And you're all about the statement.
And in line, she's like, hey, I told you to wear that. And he's like, honey, no one tells me what to wear.
I love that line.
Great line. Great delivery. I really think I like that actor a lot.
He was really good in the role.
Really good.
And then he spots Tino. And that is going to get confusing. He spots Tino and kind of like, ooh. Ew. And he's like, all right, well, you guys going to come in? Even though, so he lets them in.
Like, Goku-looking twink is going to...
Which, it's funny that you said Italian, because I was thinking, I was like, this is the least Italian person
He's
since
so
the
not
grandma in
the contest. He is very not Italian. His mom is very Italian and melodramatic. We will find out.
We'll get there, yeah.
So he invites them both into the club, and they're dancing, and they decide, oh, let's do like a big dance to impress Bastian, and he'll invite us on the show, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they do, and it's very embarrassing because it's disco dancing, which is not good.
I like the disco dancing. I'm impressed pretty easily by dancing. I can't dance at all, so my level of, I'm like, wow. Well, look at him spin.
Well, compare it to like if you were to watch Step Up or something, or like Magic Mike. It's just kind of like, I could do that.
Well, street dancing's way cooler than disco, obviously.
Very cool, yeah. Because black people do it.
You're right. That's what we know, yeah.
Yeah. At least in Montreal, discoing, no black people are discoing.
Yeah.
I think we beat a single black character in this movie, which, I mean, I can't speak about the demographics of Montreal in the 1970s.
I'm not an expert on it. And they do kind of have a thing where the club, where it was like, Bastian makes an appearance basically, and because he gets out there on the microphones like, hey, I need some dancers for our show.
Yes.
So if you get out on that dance floor and dance it up, maybe we'll pick you. And so it obviously is like this is why people go to this club.
Yeah.
Because there's even then Jonathan is like to the owner's son, Daniel. He's like, hey man, like, I can't go out there now. I came here to give away these free t-shirts that you asked me to come do. And now what am I supposed to do? And so then he like kind of slips some money. And he also says, I don't know if this is in French, but he basically makes a comment like, hey, you don't want to find yourself on my out list. Like, it's a segment he does on the show where he can say like, this place sucks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that was in French because that comes up later,
yes,
and
exactly.
I was kind of confused.
That's why I was setting it up for you in case you didn't know that. So yeah, he has basically, like I said, he's a trendsetter. He has the power to potentially tank a business if he wants to, or whatever.
It's important to know. Yes, I wish I did. Anytime Daniel's in the movie, he only speaks French. So his side plot you'll handle.
And there's a little bit of there's also a moment in the club where he slips Bastian some cocaine.
Yes,
and then he gives it to a girl later, but we see that he doesn't take any.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we also should say that there was like a brief news segment with Daniel and his father, Giles or Giles?
Yeah, Giles, I think.
Giles,
yeah.
French old creep.
I feel like they also say like Gilles. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that
So you gotta say it with the Quebec like.
Listen, I'm a Buffy fan, so it would always be Giles to me. I don't know.
Yeah, Giles. We'll call Giles. But yeah, where they just kind of like, introducing them as father son own the club together,
and that's actually a really fun dynamic too. I guess this again was in Quebecois, but because the interviewer keeps like being like, "Oh, hey, Giles, how's it going? Like, how's your club?"
Yes,
and then he's like, "Actually, my son is the owner," and the owner's like, and the son's like, "Yes, hey," and then she's like, "Yeah, right," and goes back to Giles, like, "Tell us what's actually going on."
Yeah,
like very much. They don't believe him as the man in charge kind of thing.
Absolutely. And it is kind of that way. Because their main thing, maybe you'll want to correct me if I'm wrong here.
I'm sure you got
it is basically like, the father controlling the son, being like, just do what I say.
Yeah.
This is my place. I know that it says it's your place, but it's mine.
Yeah.
The secretary is mine. This office is mine.
That's almost verbatim what he says.
Secretary and bureau are the only 2 words I could pick up. Just like, mon secrétaire, mon bureau,
yeah,
mon discothèque.
Because he talks shit to his son in the back, and then the secretary leaves, and the son's kind of like, hey, can you not disrespect me in front of my secretary? Yes. And he's like, your secretary? So Daniel does own the business.
Yes.
But his dad gave him all the money for it.
Okay.
So it's under a loan, and so he treats him like shit all the time because he wouldn't have the business if it wasn't for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
but very good. Very good, Rory.
Woohoo. Duolingo. 1,400 days, folks. So basically after that party, the next day we do see that Bastien is with his family. He has a hot wife whose name I didn't write down, but
oh yeah, I don't have her name either.
Super hot. Mm-hmm. Like I think the prettiest girl in the.
Oh, nice.
I thought she was
good. Yeah. I did like about Adriana in the club the night before too, because she's like, hey, can I get your number or your card? She says to Bastien, and he's like, card. Everyone knows who I am.
Yeah.
And she takes out his shirt and signs his shirt with her number. And I was like, oh my God, what a power move. That's so cool.
But yeah, the next day we see Bastien with his wife, who is constantly complaining that he's out all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, I gotta make money. This is how it is.
I just have to make apperances, and this is part of the job, right?
Yeah. They have a daughter whose name I didn't write down. She is an awful. She's a brat. I don't want to punch children, except for maybe her.
I think you find out that she's because at first she like kind of hates the mom for always being around, and so the mom obviously has to play the bad guy a lot in life. But that's only because he's not around and always out. So she kind of idolized her dad a little bit, and then throughout the movie,
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Throughout the movie, we'll slowly start to see that relationship change.
Yeah. So Bastien goes into work. He's super cool. He literally arrives at the radio station and walks in and like sits down the moment he has to say anything. He's super cool. And then we see him and Adriana at the TV show.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got it.
Yeah.
You're on the show.
Yeah. He tells her to come down like to the station.
Yeah.
We got a surprise for you. And the surprise is you're going to host a new segment where you talk about fashion in the scene.
Yes. And one thing to be known about Adriana, she does not speak French, which, again, for anyone who's not familiar with Quebec, kind of a big deal. They kind of hate you if you don't speak French.
Really, you missed a funny joke later on, but I'll fill you in when we get there. Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
Where are we now?
Did we also when we met Tino at work, we find out his friends are big homophobes.
Oh yes. So we cut to Tino at his work. He works in his family's Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
He has 2 friends that we mostly get to know, who are basically extras from The Sopranos in Montreal for some reason. But whatever, it's fine. I don't know. But yeah, they are huge homophobes. I think we missed that at the opening scene. After they have the dance off, Tino goes downstairs and he goes into.
That's right. He goes in the bathroom. Is it's a gay hookup scene, right?
It's a gay hookup.
So and he kind of lingers, and you can tell he's like, oh, this guy's questioning his sexuality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there are some people giving some of the dirtiest looks while jerking each other off in that bathroom.
All I could think is, I'm a pretty shy peer in just a regular bathroom. I do not think I could go to the bathroom if these guys were just jerking each other off, and I'm so sorry, I have to go. I can't pee here.
I need the stall. I'm sorry. It'd be fine if they weren't making eye contact with
literally,
me too.
Yeah, sorry for clarification. They literally make eye contact with him.
Yeah, they just stare at him. It's just like, this is fine, but
totally.
I would be like, I
can't pee here.
I can't pee. I only came to pee. Yeah. Good for you guys.
Loved it.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Okay, sorry. I did like there was a line too after Adriana got signed.
Yeah,
where Jonathan walks by Bastian.
Right.
And he's like, because this would have been in French. So this is another little funny line.
Okay.
But Jonathan's like, I give her 2 weeks.
No, that wasn't in French.
English?
That was in English.
And then Bastian's like, all right, fair enough. I only gave you 1. So it's like, oh, yeah. So that was a fun one.
I will say this is somewhat hard to keep track of what's all happening because we're cutting in between storylines. Between
all these storylines.
All the time.
Yeah. Because we also get a little side story too where the Giles
is Giles and Mimi, I think is
Giles
the next
and Mimi
scene.
Yeah,
so Mimi is like an older woman, she had
a hit in probably the last couple years, a big disco hit.
Yeah, this was all in French.
Yeah, so she was a big deal. And I think we briefly saw her in the opening too. She's at like a fancy shopping place and she's buying all these garments, and then you can tell the lady is about to run her credit card and she's kind of like skeptical that she has the money.
Yeah.
But then these fans come up and be like, can we get a photo? So then she's like, okay, like, I'm going to run this card.
Yeah.
And it's very much treated like, she has financial issues. Like,
yes. Yeah. I think maybe we should even just tackle each individual storyline.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Moving forward.
What do you want to go with first?
Well, why don't we do, since we're on Mimi and Giles, let's go to that up until
the next year?
Next year kind of thing.
Okay, sounds good.
So Mimi and Giles, they meet at a diner, and I'll let you take over because this was in French.
So what happens? Yeah, she basically is like she recorded another single.
Okay,
and she's like, "Hey, can you put this out there and get some people to play it for me?" And he's like, "No, your single sucks. Just so you know." And like, kind of like it's too heavy. No one likes this. People are into disco songs.
Okay.
So yes, this might clarify. This might clarify something.
Yes.
So he's like, this is not interesting music to anyone. No one wants to play this stuff. And she's like, she was singing. I forget if he wanted it in whatever language she didn't sing it in. Like I think she sang it in French, and he's like, or no, or whatever,
Yeah.
And so, and he kind of just tells her like, it's not going to happen for you. You're washed up, and I'll pay for your food right now, and that's about it.
Yeah. Giles is a real piece of shit.
He really is. Yeah. That shows up even more so later.
Yes. Why don't just do their entire story?
Sure, that works for me.
Yeah, because then we cut a few years later, and she's working at that diner basically.
Oh, you know what? That's funny. I didn't even recognize that it was that diner, but
I'm pretty sure it was
totally,
that diner,
it totally makes sense. Yeah, it kind of. I didn't even realize it was going to skip. Like it was going to take. This story kind of takes place over 4 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Basically, it starts in 1976, and then like 20, 30 minutes in, it cuts to 1978.
It'll always say the next year kind of thing. And so she's working the diner now, and then there's this girl in the diner who's like, "Oh my God, you're." Mimi. She's kind of like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm in a band and we love your music. Like you inspired us.
Yeah.
You should come see us play.
Yeah.
And then way later in the movie, she goes down and sees these girls and they're like kind of a punk
band. They're a punk band. It's basically like the end of disco and the beginning of punk. And they name drop like Blondie's coming up. They're like, you're very Blondie, very Ramones.
Yeah. And then so she goes to see them play, and you can tell on her face, she's like, "Oh shit! Like this is
what's
awesome.
happening." Yeah.
And then you don't see her again for a long time in the movie, but near the end, Giles is running around trying to hide from people. Anyway, he enters this punk club.
Yes.
And they're on stage, and the whole place is into it. And him, as much someone who doesn't like the music, is like, shit, they have something.
I think for me, that was the moment of like, him realizing like, oh, this is the new thing.
Time changing, yeah.
Yes.
So he then goes backstage when they're off and like, hey,
he sees an opportunity to take it. Oh, women, I can take advantage of these.
He's literally in the midst of trying to leave town, and he's stopped by like, I'm going to screw one more person out of money. So he's like, hey, do you guys like want to? And then they're kind of like, you know what? If it's business, go talk to her manager. And we see it's Mimi,
and they look at each other, and he just accepts defeat.
He basically is aware, like, oh, she's moved into this side of the industry.
Yeah,
and she's already knows that I fuck people over.
Yes,
like he knows this is a not going to happen situation.
And that's kind of like
he takes the loss and leaves.
Yeah, he's just like, all right.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and do the Bastian and Adriana storyline then, because that bleeds into whatever the Giles storyline.
Yeah.
So Bastian and Adriana, she does the show. Oh my God, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's go fuck.
Let's go fuck. And then they're about to fuck, and she puts a little line of cocaine on her stomach.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm so sorry, I don't partake. And then he's like, one line's not gonna kill me. Come on. Yep.
Foreshadowing. But also, I will say, probably the only time I'll ever do cocaine. If
off of Adriana specifically.
If a woman I'm about to have sex with decides to put cocaine on her belly button, I'll be like, listen, I guess I gotta.
And I won't ever do it.
You'll never do it. Never. So basically, they start this affair. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
He ends up buying her a house.
Yeah, because so what happens is
this was in
so
French,
they wake up the first night after, and we meet her. She has a roommate named Sabrina.
Right.
And the roommate's kind of like, oh, like you guys had fun last night, and he's like, yeah. And then she's like, hey, what's because he's a famous guy, right? So she's like, what's your wife gonna think about this? And he's like, oh, how about none of your fucking business? And
fuck off.
And then so it kind of goes montage between like them hooking up, her new job, and then a
little bit of the family stuff, of the wife being like, "What's going on? You're going out.
I'm working late.
Come on,
well, I'm not doing cocaine. Shut up." And then he ends up buying her own place because he's sick of dealing with Sabrina.
Okay,
because she's being annoying apparently.
Did you have the initial thought? Maybe I was stuck in romantic comedy world where I'm just like, oh, he's gonna end up with the roommate.
Sabrina, 100%. I was like, Sabrina's gonna be the next. I was thinking it was gonna be like a revolving door situation where like it would end up being Sabrina. That is what I thought.
Yeah. Guess what? Not where this goes.
Not at all.
So he gets her a new place, which made me be like, how much fucking money does this guy making that he can afford another house?
Right.
But also is 76 Montreal. It was like $50 or something. I don't know. Everyone has a fucking house back then. Remember that?
Oh, man.
So basically, she's plummeting on the TV show. She's doing really bad.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Show. So they have this great segment where she's interviewing a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, tell us about your new line. And she's like in French. She's like, who is this lady? She doesn't speak French? Are you kidding me? She's so mad. And Adriana just keeps asking her questions in English. And she's like, and then to prove that she knows a little bit of French, she's like, she just starts naming brands.
Yes, like French brands.
Yeah, like she's
Chanel.
Like, Chanel, Yves Saint Laurent, and she's just naming, and then she's like, whatever. What? Can you help me out? Oh, what a bitch. And the French lady's like, bitch. And she walks away and she's like, she understood that. It was great.
Yeah. So she's tanking.
But yeah, you can tell she is not good at her job.
She's terrible at it. And meanwhile, this entire time, Jonathan is like kind of in the background being like, she's doing a bad job.
Right. And also they are intercutting it with cocaine fueled parties.
Yes, they are going off deep end.
Big time.
So we cut to I think the next year, and basically Bastian is strung out as hell. Basically, he's going on benders.
Yeah,
his wife ends up going to the disco club.
Yeah, I think the first scene of 1977 is the wife driving to the disco, and Jonathan, because he's known him for a long time, is like. Knows her, so he's like, "Oh my God, nice to see you.
It's been a while.
Yeah, what are you doing here?" And she's like, and he's like, "Oh, Bastian's not here," and she's like, "Oh, I'm not actually here to see Bastian." He's kind of like, "You clearly are."
Yeah, and
she's like, "I haven't seen him or heard from him in 4 days. I don't know where he is."
Crazy.
Yeah.
So while that's happening, I feel like is this when his TV show was falling apart? That's a little bit later.
It's because it's after the relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. So at this point, they're like on a coke binge in a hotel somewhere, and he's just like, I fucking hate disco.
Yes.
It's so stupid.
He hates disco.
There was a scene actually in the very first part where he's late to his radio show that he's hosting.
Right, yeah.
And it's great because he's like, he walks in, takes his coat off, like gets to the mic. Some other guy's been manning the booth for him. And then he's like, oh, up next, one of my favorites. And the guy like hands him the record and he reads it.
Right,
he just doesn't know anything. It's so funny.
Okay, that's what he was saying. Because, again.
Yeah, no worries.
But, so, then basically his marriage falls apart.
Yeah.
Basically overnight.
He comes home from this 4-day bender.
Right. And he's locked out. All of his stuff is out on the lawn.
Garbage bags on the porch, locks changed. And he's like, come on, babe. And she's like, no, go away. Like, I don't want to see you. And your daughter doesn't want to see you. So we can already see also the relationship there not going well, right?
Yeah.
I think, is this, so, and then what happens with Adriana.
Yes.
Is, they also end up firing her. Because they're like, we're not renewing your contract. You're not good at this job. She's like, I don't really like this job. I kind of don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. She took that pretty well.
Yeah.
But then we find out she's talking to her manager and she wants to be a singer. Yes. And the manager's like, you can't sing.
And she's like, I don't care if I can't sing.
You can't sing. So then what they do is introduce, because Giles is a hit maker.
Yeah. So she's like, go to his place, go, and they're in a hot tub together, and you're just like, gross.
Yeah.
And then he's like, she's about to go down on him, and he's like, hey, none of that.
I'm not interested in that. You're more than just a fuck, is basically what he says.
Yes.
And she's like pissed. She starts to leave, and she's like, I can't believe you don't want to fuck me. He's like, no, I want to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you're more than that.
And then she says, since when?
Right.
Which is a great line, actually.
Yeah, no, it's good. And then basically cut to she's done with Bastian.
Bastian this entire time has been at her place. He's waiting for her with his stuff.
He moved because the wife kicked him out, right? Yeah. So he went back to the house, and he's waiting in the dark, just doing blow like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And so she comes home, he's in the pitch black, like, terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, a man loves to sit in the black. Josh, come on. You've never sat in the black?
Yeah, only when I do cocaine all night long.
She comes in, and he's like, hey, where were you? I've been waiting for you. And she's like, hey, we're done. And it's literally just like nothing. Just like, throws him aside.
Out. Yeah, it's great.
And Giles is there with her, and they just go upstairs and grab some stuff and then leave immediately.
Yeah. And then I think so. This is where Bastian, he like goes on TV.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
I think we cut a little bit later, and it's like next year officially divorced.
Right. So, Bastian. One of the things he does in this stage is he goes to an audition because he's also.
I think that's later on. That is later on.
Is not this? Not the.
Oh, okay.
Not the where he blows up and like knocks the shit out all over the place.
I thought so. Okay. I think that's after the divorce officially. So,
because I have it in 1977 here.
Okay, maybe it is 1977.
But yeah, he goes into an audition, and they're like,
because he is an actor. He thinks of himself as an actor.
That's why he originally started too.
Yes.
And the other reason is because, I think in the very beginning the wife, he basically tells the wife like, hey, I'm actually going to be hosting he was originally not the full host of the show, and then he gets promoted. They kick this other guy. Right. I don't think you ever see him off the show. And then so the wife's like, oh, you're giving up on the acting? All this work we put in for your acting career? And he's like, it's not
stage plays doesn't pay.
Right, exactly.
Which also, yeah.
So he's in this audition, and they're like, some TV personality, like, we don't want you. You're not. People are going to turn on the movie and laugh, basically. Yeah. And he gets pissed off and like knocks over a table in the hallway.
He also has a great line where he says, "You're a director of a fucking Canadian film."
harsh, accurate critique.
I love it coming from a Canadian filmmaker. So,
well, maybe, like you said, if it's Quebec, maybe they have the ability to cast stones like that.
Yeah. So then we cut ahead. He's in trial, getting divorced. He loses custody of the daughter, of course, because he's still.
Oh, and we do find out too. So we I forgot about this part too, because she just went home and he creeped her out in the dark.
Yes.
But then later what happens is after the blow up, he's on the radio station and he's like, hey, coming up next is a hit from this new singer. Like we said, he doesn't really know disco. Yeah. And he's just like, Adriana. He's like, so he doesn't even know that she's been getting this music career
started.
Going behind his back. Yeah. And he shows up at because he's basically, it's happening at the Starlight. He shows up at the Starlight. Right. They're already gone. She's already performed, which It's not her singing, by the way.
So there's this other like smaller subplot so far that will become more important later.
Yeah.
Where Giles is like, "Oh, I have some." Oh wait, no, it's Adrian's manager's like, "I have somebody else."
Yes.
And it's a big black lady who sings in church, and Giles is just like, "I can't sell a fat lady."
Yeah.
But she has a good voice. And then we cut to this, and it's very obviously that lady
the lady's
is
voice, and they're pretending it's Adriana.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also the son like kind of clocks it, like he's like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah, I mean, no one else cares.
This is the blackest voice coming out of the smallest white woman you've ever seen.
I would have loved if people knew that, but I don't think people cared back then, which is sad.
People definitely did care back then. Milli Vanilli wasn't there.
Right. And then, so they cut to 1978. Immediate first thing is a court custody case where the judge is like, I'm sorry, Mr. Drug Addict, you want full custody of your daughter? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, not happy. It's like, oh. Yeah, so he does not get custody.
Mm-hmm. And his daughter now hates him.
Yes, very much.
He's going to hate him a lot more later on. Basically, throughout this time, like, he will go and see the daughter, and his wife has a new boyfriend now.
Yeah, he goes to see her play tennis.
Yes.
And
I think he's late for one.
Yeah.
And this is after.
Oh, that's right. No, so he what happens is he's so pissed about the custody, everything. It's the same day, I think.
Yes.
And he's doing copious amounts of drugs in his change room to the point where his nose starts bleeding as they come to be like, hey, you're on in 5, and he's like, ah. And then so they
drugs.
So they pull him on, and he can't read the cue cards, can't read the teleprompter. He's all over the place. He introduces a band that is not there, and he's like, oh shit. And he's like trying to blame everyone else. They cut to commercial, and then the director, producer, whatever.
Yeah,
it is,
I think producer. Yeah,
he's like, hey, you got to go. Yeah. We'll get Jonathan to fill in for the rest of the show. And he's like, no, fuck you guys. You're ruining my show. Yeah. I'm looking like an idiot up here. And he's like, all right, security, escort this guy out. And
he punches the producer right in the jaw. Yeah, because that's going to fix this situation.
Right. So immediately fired.
Yeah.
So while he's having the meltdown on TV, we see his daughter and her friend
watching it, because the daughter didn't hate him completely.
Yeah.
She was kind of like, oh, we'll still watch his show kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's watching with her friend, and they're just like, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with your dad?
I don't know.
So then at the tennis match, the daughter's sitting by herself, and the wife is like, she does not want to talk to you. All of her friends are making fun of her because of what
her friends can't even hang out with you anymore because their parents are like, your dad does drugs all the time.
Yeah. Fun fact, that's something that happened to me. I've never related to a character in such a specific way before. When I was in kindergarten, my dad got arrested for having a truly massive grow up, and I got uninvited from my friend's birthday party.
Nice,
because the parents were like, "No, his dad is a criminal."
That's amazing.
Never went to jail.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself, Lorelai.
That's a birthday party?
No, that's the mom.
The mom's birthday? Yeah, that's even better. Even better. Yeah, fuck her.
I can't believe I remember that. Okay.
And then, so that's so fucking funny.
Is this when he goes to another audition that he gets? The saddest.
Oh, I know.
Oh my God.
So I think that does come up. There also is a little part with where Adriana now she's living in Giles's place.
Yes.
And she's in the pool.
Yeah.
And the manager lady comes over. And she's kind of like, hey, there's a for sale sign on the lawn.
Right.
And Adriana's like, yeah, I don't think that means anything.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I wouldn't trust this guy for anything. And the manager, by the way, is not the nicest person to her. Like, always telling her that she's fat and like too old to be a model.
Yeah.
And like she's like 25 or some shit. And then she's like, well, I just wouldn't trust, because I don't know. Have you seen? You made this single you put out has made how much money? How much have you seen? And Adriana's like, oh, nothing. And she's like, right. So all the money's under his name.
Yes.
So don't be surprised if in a little while you're out, nothing to show for it.
Exactly.
No place to go kind of thing.
The Mimi treatment, basically.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And their storylines kind of separate a little bit here, but still, Bastien is still obsessed with Adriana.
Yeah.
Like, he sees that as, like, his heyday. Like, he's constantly like, hey, we should try to get back together kind of thing, like, a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then we cut to Bastien has got himself a TV role. It is going to be on a sitcom in front of a live studio audience, and he tells his ex-wife, being like, hey, you guys should come and bring my daughter. Right. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. Absolutely not. But the daughter finds out.
Yeah, she basically is like, wait for her to come back to you, is what she says. And so he's on the sitcom.
Yes.
And the daughter and her same friend that was watching at her place when
that friend is not going to be a friend for much longer.
So they're on some Quebecois sitcom.
Yes.
Taking place in a hot dog shop.
Yes. And Bastien's role is as the sad hot dog mascot. He's in a giant hot dog costume, and he is the saddest person I've ever seen in my life.
And they show him backstage before he goes out, and he is like legit like, what the fuck am I doing? But he owes his drug dealer money. Yes. He doesn't have any income right now.
He's we see him talking to a member, I presumed a member of the Hells Angels, for sure. Mostly because I just know that they were around in
drug trade in Montreal,
but so he comes out in the sad, and the daughter is mortified.
Yeah, she's not laughing at all. The whole audience is laughing at how stupid this is.
Yeah.
Her not at all.
Yeah, because he's a sad hot dog man who then gets mustard sprayed all over his face. And that's the whole bit. I don't even know if I think he had like 2 lines.
I think he says something about it being hard to be out there. And he's like, maybe we'll make you look more like a hot dog. And he sprays mustard right in his face.
Yeah.
And everyone laughed at him, and he sadly left the scene. He was on the sitcom for less than a minute.
Yeah, less than a minute, and his daughter walks away. And I think that's might be the last time they ever speak to each other or see each other. It is the saddest thing I've seen so far in this podcast.
Yeah, it was. That was a sad one. Oh man.
And then
he also tries to go. So he throughout the good years, I guess he would always go to this like poolside bar and get drinks and stuff.
Oh my god.
And so this time he goes to the same bar.
So yeah, during the good times he was like friendly with one of the servers specifically, where he'd call him over, tip him well, and he'd be like, and like chummy with him.
Yeah. And then there's also one, I don't know if it's in French, but he's like basically like, can you believe I'm banging Adriana? Yes. And the guy's kind of like, yes, sir, that's great for you. And then so kind of like oh, this
thank
fucking,
you, sir. Yeah.
And then so he kind of taps him on the shoulder. He's like, hey, remember me? Can you give me a drink on the house? And he's like, no, not happening.
Yeah. Well, he's like, I can't run up your tab any higher.
Right. He's clearly done it. Yes. Yeah. And then and he immediately snaps.
And Mimi is not Mimi. The manager's there at the bar too, and she sees that.
That's right, and she gives him a little pick-me-up snort in the bathroom because he's not doing well.
It's like, hey, come on.
Which I love that there was a time where someone had cocaine on them for like other people, and was like, "Look at you, you're such a wreck. Here you go."
How society has fallen. You know. No one's willing to give you cocaine.
Oh man. And then so what happened? There's something where does he go to the old house, right?
I think so.
Like he goes to because Adriana's now gone. Adriana, I think he shows up there.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're moving to the manager, it's in the bathroom. The manager's like, We're leaving. Adriana's going to New York. Like she's moving on. You have to move on. And then so he's fallen so far. He's actually trying to go back to the ex-wife, and goes there. And as he's like walking up the steps, he sees they're having like a family dinner.
Right. Yes.
Starts to leave, and the mom comes out and is like, "Oh, hey," and then like sadly like invites him in because he's clearly not doing well.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, I can't."
And then the daughter comes outside.
This is the last time.
Yeah, the daughter comes outside and is like, "Hey, Dad, like, you sure you don't want to come in?" And he's like, "No, thank you. Maybe we could go out tomorrow for supper, just us two." And she's like, "That'd be great." And then the next night, he drives to New York to find Adriana, standing up his daughter for the last time, basically.
So we should discuss Adriana and Giles a little bit here, because basically they get in a big fight.
Yeah.
And Giles, because there's this weird kind of subplot. It's not really important, but the Quebec referendum to like, are we going to become our own nation? It's kind of in the background. Right. And Giles is just like, if this goes through or doesn't go through, it's going to ruin me. I can't remember which one he wanted to happen.
I don't even know. I read the lines and was like, referendum? I don't even know what that means.
I've done. Quebec's still part of Canada. That's all that matters. So basically, they get in a big fight, and she's like, I'm moving to New York. In New York, she is going to live with Sabrina again.
Yeah, Sabrina.
She's back, folks.
Hey, she's back to probably be in a relationship like Sebastian, like we all predict.
And then Sabrina lets it slip that Adriana is pregnant.
Because she's like, hey, I didn't know you could sing so well. Hopefully you pass it on to Junior.
Right.
And she's like, oh, thanks. And then the manager's like, Junior? Oh, my God.
You son of a bitch, you're fucking pregnant? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Basically, he's like, don't worry, we'll take care of that. We're going to go get it aborted.
We're going to get aborted right now.
And she's like, actually, no. How about you get out of the car right now? Yeah, and she kicks out the old manager lady.
Yeah, and she fires her, and
gotta say, it was nice to see Adriana sticking up for herself in all these situations. That was nice.
Because at this point, she does call her like, "Oh, you've just been my pimp this whole time."
Yeah.
Which is definitely kind of what it felt like.
I mean, it's what her relationship.
What she was. Yeah,
totally.
She's just like, "Oh, go to that old man over there, sleep with him. He'll give you a job." That's what she's done this 100%. Entire time.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see Adriana stand up for herself. That actress, she never really went on to do anything else.
She was good.
She was good in this. I'm kind of like, I wish she had done more.
So while they're out, or while she's out or whatever, Bastian does show up in New York.
Yes.
Banging on the door, being like, take me back. Sabrina's kind of like...
I don't know why he knows where she's staying with Sabrina.
Weird creep, I'm sure he had.
Yeah, he's a coked out creep. We've all been there. I know the addresses of every woman I've slept with.
Memorized them. And Sabrina's kind of like, hey, she's not here. All right. Like opens the door with the chain and like isn't here. You need to like move on.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah.
And he boots down the door.
Kicks in the door. Yeah.
And it's like, just tell me where she is, freaking her out. She grabs a knife.
Yep.
And she's like, go away or I'll call the cops. He like tries to wrestle it out of her hand. They fall over. He stabs her.
Yeah. And she's dead.
And he flees.
Yep. And I'm not sure how soon after this. We might as well wrap up his story.
It's 1980, so it's the next.
Okay, it's the next year.
The wrap up's kind of 1980.
Right. Yes, it is, because we cut to him in a very shitty hotel,
and he has upgraded to heroin.
He is doing heroin
and banging prostitutes.
Doing heroin, and he shoots up and he dies.
And he sure does. He dies, and we intercut it with his daughter hating his guts.
Yes. Yeah. So this is one thing I wasn't sure. So the daughter is in school. She gets sent to the principal's office, and they're looking through her bag. What are they looking for? Do you know?
No, I didn't see.
So she's like in the principal's office and she got in trouble or something. So they're like looking through her bag for something.
Interesting.
It's never shown what they're looking for.
I'm trying to think. Like, I don't remember there being. I feel this movie was really good cinematically. Like, there was a lot of show don't tell. I don't remember subtitles about that conversation. I feel like it was just also really good music, and I feel like there was just music and them showing it, so I missed that actually.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember what it was.
But it makes sense that it would be like she's a troubled child.
She's a troubled child kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so sad. That's another level of sadness I didn't even catch the first time around, Rory.
Yeah. And the the end card for him is just like, he was suspected of this murder, but it was never proven, and it's unknown if he committed suicide or just died of an overdose.
And I was like, this is based off a true story?
Yes.
What? Did you know before that or no?
I think I did.
Okay.
But like, it's also based off a true story. I don't know if he is based off anyone. I think he might be completely.
He is. Him and Jonathan are the only two I think that are based off real people.
Yes.
Maybe Mimi to an extent, or more so that a scene happened.
Yes.
Anyway, but so in the lawsuit I was talking about earlier is apparently the guy that Jonathan is based off, who when he moved to New York eventually had like a career in television, and live on air accused this guy, like said like, hey, he probably murdered this lady in New York at one point. Wow. But there wasn't enough evidence to put him away. So he sued him for like defamation successfully. And then way later police found, after both Jonathan and him were dead, they like found evidence to be like, oh, you know what? Actually, he probably did.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Okay, I did not find that. Yeah, because I did a little bit of research. I didn't have time to do a lot.
That's this is Wikipedia research, so who knows?
Yes.
But no, that's what I read anyway.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, remember Jonathan? Remember how there's a whole another segment? This movie is a little too full. I feel that a little overstuffed. So let's jump to Jonathan and Tino.
Yeah.
And Tina.
Hopefully this storyline is less sad.
Oh yeah, we can definitely. This one will definitely not end with just a horrible thing. So basically, Jonathan and Tina basically like keeps inviting Tino and Tina out. Yeah. They're dancing all the time, and he eventually seduces Tino.
Yeah, he's kind of like, I think it's suggested to him at first. One guy just kind of sees him and he's like, oh, that guy? Like, I bet he says 1 out of 10.
He's on our side.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, oh, you think so? So it kind of intrigues him. And so they're at the Starlight again. And he basically says to Tino, like, hey, well, maybe I'll see you at the bridge sometime.
Yeah.
And he's like, the bridge? And he's like,
what are you talking about?
You know what I mean. Yeah. And sure enough.
We cut to later on that night, he goes down to a bridge, and it's a gay hookup.
Yeah.
And
they just go at it.
They just go at it. Like, and there's a bunch of dudes making out. It's pretty hot. And so they start basically an illicit affair.
Yeah.
Tina will never find out.
Right. And Tino very like self-hating gay.
Very self-hating.
Sorry, doesn't even say he's like, I'm not gay. You're the gay one he's gay. Because I'm just having sex with you.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines in the movie is Jonathan being like, oh, I couldn't tell with your cock in my ass.
It's hard for me to remember with your cock in my ass that you're not gay. That was Jonathan's very funny.
Jonathan is very funny in this movie. It also reminded me of, unfortunately, the end of Scary Movie. I don't know if you remember that.
The first Scary Movie?
The very first Scary Movie.
Yeah. Where you suck my dick, yeah.
I'm not gay. You suck my dick.
Yeah, that's good.
But basically, during this time, he wants to dance. Tino wants to dance.
Just let him dance.
Let him dance. And his mom hates dancing.
Oh, hates so dancing.
Much. She's an Italian woman, an actual Italian woman compared to Contest Lady.
So the second night they go to Starlight, he was supposed to work.
Yes.
The mom shut down the restaurant because she's like, we were short-staffed.
Yeah.
Because of you. And he's like, what? You closed early because I didn't show up for my shift? And she's like, yeah, thanks a lot for ruining the business. And he's like, Jesus. Well, okay, I'll be in tomorrow or whatever. And she's like, don't bother coming.
Yes. She kicks him out.
If you're not going to be here full-time for the family's not here for you. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
So he goes to live in his friend's basement.
Yeah. Homophobic guy.
Earlier. Homophobic guy won. He gets number one because we see him more.
He's the most, yeah.
He's the most homophobic.
The most homophobic, and we see him the most, yeah.
And then he has his own phone line there, which Jonathan calls him on sometimes. And he's like, hey, you can't call me on this phone. I told you not to call me on this phone line, yeah. And this was also kind of funny because he's just like, they're going to ask questions. And Jonathan's just like, what? They're going to tell I'm gay through the phone? And I gotta be honest, I was kind of like, well, yes.
Actually, I believe the line he said is they're going to be able to tell that I sucked your cock through the phone. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And so that's it for that year on their storyline.
Not quite.
No?
No, because Tino goes to visit his mom one day. And his mom...
Oh, Jesus. How did I was probably too horrified to write any note. This was startling.
His mom hangs herself.
Oh, my God. I couldn't...
Because her son wants to dance.
The makeup they used on this lady was masterful.
Terrifying.
It was like a horror movie for a split second. I couldn't believe it.
It was straight up just like I was like, what fucking movie am I watching?
Totally took me by surprise.
Yeah, mostly because why did she hang herself?
I don't know.
It is out of like, I get that her son is. It's weird that they keep saying like the family, but those are the only two. Yeah. It's only mom and son.
Well, and she always keeps saying, there was a few lines there too where she snuck in like you call yourself a man, and like kind of questioning his masculinity. Yes. Which
I bet she knew probably.
Yeah. And then it was.
It's terrifying.
Very much so.
And Tino will go on to have nightmares about this, which are also terrifying.
Vivid nightmares, which I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because we
cut to the next year, and he now runs the restaurant.
In the restaurant running it. Yeah. He's like working the past, clearly burnt out.
Yeah, because he must have inherited it. I mean, there's no other family left. He now runs this restaurant,
trying to keep it alive. Mm-hmm. And we get like Tina calls him, being like, "Hey, I'm going to Starlight again." Classic Tina.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm just too tired, babe. Can't make it tonight." Yeah. And then the next scene we see him, Jonathan is coming home to his house. Mm-hmm. Tino's there having a shower. Yeah. So their affair's been going strong.
Strong for a while, yes. Yeah. And then I think it's the next year. Basically, that's kind of theirs for the while they're
I think it's a lot of the stuff we already covered where like Tino, he won't kiss Jonathan and like just doesn't think he's gay and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then maybe the only thing I can think of, it might be the next year.
I think it's the next year. The proposal?
And I was gonna say I guess it is after the proposal. Yeah.
So it's basically we kind of cut. I'm going to guess cut to the next year. We might be a little off.
It is. You're right. Yes.
And basically Jonathan shows up at the restaurant, mm-hmm. and there's a big party there, and he's just like,
"Oh, I'm gonna stop in and say hi to my friends."
Yeah. And it's an engagement party for Tino and Tina.
Yeah.
And Jonathan's just like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go then."
Yeah. And Tina's like, "No, you're like family. Like, stick around." And he's kind of like, and he gives a toast, says "L'chaim," I believe.
Yes,
and says like,
because he is Jewish.
Yeah. And so says like that's just means good fortune or whatever. Sorry if that's not what it means.
Yeah. And then Tino goes after him outside the restaurant. He's just like, "Hey, it's over. We gotta stop.
Yeah, I'm done with this.
We're officially done with this." Mm-hmm. And Jonathan's just like, "Okay."
Yeah, it doesn't believe him, but yeah, sure, whatever you say. And then I think the next time we see Jonathan goes to the restaurant, right?
Yes. So Jonathan goes to the restaurant with
a partner, to be whatever. Yes. Yeah.
And the homophobe friends are now working there.
Yeah.
Or just hanging out.
Yeah. I don't know what they do.
And they're like, gross, disgusting. And
because they're just kind of like affectionately holding each other's hands and kissing. Like Jonathan also is doing it to
make Tino jealous.
Yes. And then so he goes over and is like, can you not do that in my restaurant? Like, it's kind of weird and everyone out. I don't want to lose customers. And he's like, I don't think anyone in here is bothered by it except you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you can either pay or get out or whatever. And he's like, okay. So they leave.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is like what I was saying before, setting up is Jonathan's doing the show.
Yes.
Which he's, I think at this point now, full-time host of.
I believe so.
The Sebastian breakdown happened.
Yeah.
But he declares the restaurant out.
Okay.
And it kills the business.
Kills it.
Like we shoot, next time we're at the restaurant, it is empty.
Yeah. And then it cuts to Tino and Tina watching it. And Tina's just like, what do we do?
Yeah, Tina's so in the dark. Like, I can't believe we didn't do anything to offend him. Can you think of anything? And he's like, I don't think so.
No. We were pretty good friends.
I definitely didn't kick him out for being gay the other night. That's for sure.
And I definitely didn't break his heart. That's right. Well, our secret love affair is happening. And Tina is pregnant at this point, I believe.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. Or it might be later on. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, I think
she does get pregnant.
I think you're right,
some point.
And then so the next time we see the homophobes are putting on masks.
Yeah, well, the homophobes are just like, we need to teach him a lesson kind of thing.
They're like, how dare he do this kind of thing?
Yeah, and Tino's kind of like, whatever kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then we cut to, it's just the homophobes. It's two.
Yeah.
And then there's two other ones.
Two random homophobes. Yeah. 3 and 4, yeah.
Yeah, and they go to the bridge. And they just start beating the shit out of some people. Yeah. And then they stop and they're just like, oh, fuck, that's Tino.
Yeah, they beat up Tino.
Yeah, and Tino was under the bridge again, just with some guy. Mm-hmm. And they all take off their masks. They're just like, Oh, fuck.
Don't know what to do. They just run away.
They run away.
Tino's fucked up. And then Jonathan gets a phone call.
Yes.
And because Jonathan's a great guy, goes to the hospital.
Yeah.
And Tino's like really beat up and is like, please don't tell Tina what happened. Can we lie to her? And so he calls Tina.
Yeah.
She comes and he's like, horrific car accident, hit and run.
And the homophobes
are literally right behind her and like, we beat that gay guy.
Yeah, they're just like,
because I don't think, obviously, I'm guessing he didn't tell Jonathan who it was.
Yes.
Because I don't think Jonathan.
Well, I don't know if he even knew.
Right.
Because I think he was probably like knocked out by the time.
That's true. I guess they hit him from behind, right?
Yeah. Because we'll cut to later. The homophobes are still
his friends later. Yeah. Because that's like pretty much wraps up that year.
Yeah, that wraps up the year, and then we cut forward to the next year. And it's basically.
I think this is when she's pregnant.
She's pregnant.
Yeah.
And
so they're still married. Very unhappy.
Yeah. Well, I think she's fine.
Sure, one of them is fine.
I think she's happy, which is because she doesn't know anything. Sad. Because she's there.
That's so sad.
But this is the saddest, but also to be one of the funniest parts, which is when she's pregnant, she sits down at the table with the two homophobes. Yeah. It's just like, Tino's working late again tonight.
And they're like, I don't think so.
Oh no. And they like look at each other just like, we know what. And then we cut to
just a party where guys are oiled up and in their underwear walking around.
And there's Tino working late.
Yeah.
So
then Jonathan's at the hospital.
Oh my God.
At the doctor's office.
It's 1980.
It's 1980.
It's 1980, and Jonathan is a gay man. So, of course, he has AIDS.
I was devastated.
I was just like, do we need to end on AIDS? I was so sad.
And well, I mean, sleeping with Tino for a year. Yes. He's at a party. Who knows? Like, it was just. It's
like, I understand.
Tragic. Yeah.
It's so tragic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my, and it's like, that's the end of the disco era. And his title card was like, he eventually moved to New York and to lived among the Broadway stars and died in like 1996. Yeah. That's it for. I was so sad.
The ending, the last year, 1980, was so sad.
Yeah, and it's like, I get this because it's true, but it was also just like, it seemed to kind of be a bit of a pile on to a degree, but like, it's true. I
think it's one of those things where it's like, sadly, this happened, and it's got to be depicted.
It's got to be depicted,
or at least mentioned, and and I think the saddest thing when I was looking this up, the two people they're based on, like Bastian and Jonathan, they died in real life at like 37 and 36.
Yeah, they were young.
Oh, because the actors. Oh, maybe Jonathan's younger, but Bastian looks pretty like. Anyway, it was very sad.
Yes.
And I think the only other thing I kind of want to touch on is like Giles, maybe.
Yes, Giles is like because there's still more Giles.
Yeah, there's more Giles.
So much plot in this movie. So basically, Giles, after he breaks up with Adriana, the woman, the black lady,
she's in a record store and hears Adriana's single, and it's like, "Excuse me, sir, what is this?"
This
and
is
he points
me.
to these posters all around, and so she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get some fucking money out of this." And so goes to Giles' place. He's like, "You signed a contract." She's like, "You gave me $200. Give me some money." And he's like, "No, not gonna happen. Escort this lady out with security." And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna get my cut." And they show up. So now Giles is like you said, with the whole Montreal, the referendum thing, he's like cutting town, trying to sell everything. He tries to sell the club.
Yes.
And
well, this is one that we haven't touched on much because
it's all French.
It's all French. But the son, I think it's basically the son stands up to the dad.
Yes. And it's great because I loved the son and the secretary's little romance.
Yes.
He like drives her home at one point. She's like, "I don't know why you let your dad talk to you." And he's like, "I've been taking that for like 30 years. I'm used to it by now." She's like, "I don't know. I think you could stick up for yourself." She invites him out for coffee.
Oh,
and he's like, "No, I should get home." Yeah. I'm like, "Go for it, Daniel. Come on.
Come on, Daniel. Be a man. Fuck your secretary."
And then, in the last part of the movie, like the 78, it's all coming down. He goes to the Starlight to be like, "Hey, how's the business? Doing good?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's record highs." And he's like, "That's great. I'm selling it." And so the secretary finally is like, "Are you kidding me? Like this, we're doing all this work for you. And she kind of is like, you're such a piece of shit. And he's like, don't you fucking talk to me like that. Daniel steps in, finally stands up to his dad
to defend his love.
Actually shoves him to the ground.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it is on. And like Giles immediately is like, I respect you so much. I've never respected you more.
Yeah.
And so there was one cutscene earlier where we saw the son stashing some money. I was going to ask you about this. Yes. He was stashing some money in the freezer. It looked like there was a lot of beer around.
I think it was like a secret safe.
So what it was, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. What it was him dealing on the side. It was all the money that he had made with his side hustles throughout the years. Because the dad was like, you've been skimming off the top.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. That's business. He's like, I've been doing this on the side. Here's all this money, plus interest, plus a little extra because you're my dad. Buys him out.
Yeah.
And
Which
and then the secretary and him we only see them kiss, but I imagine they made sweet, passionate love
in that office on that desk.
100%.
Yeah. But also, not to make this more sad, but he bought a disco club in 1978. I'm sorry.
Oh, wait, I have an update on that too. Well, I don't know because maybe no. I don't know when you turned off the movie. But did you stay through any of the credits?
No.
There was a little moment in the credits where him and the secretary moved to Mexico and were very happy together.
Oh, that's nice.
I know, right? There was like a little.
There's one happy ending.
Yeah, and he like him and the dad even had a good relationship. He's like, hey, we're down here.
Yeah.
Come on down and visit us anytime you want.
Yes.
It was nice.
Because that's good.
One nice ending of the whole movie.
Let's do Giles' ending though, which is I mean, the closest thing to a happy ending we have out of the other ones.
He's walking to the car with the trash bags full of money, which the son also the line he gives. He gives Giles the money in garbage bags.
Yes.
And he's like, "What the hell is this?" He's like, "It's garbage for garbage." And then even on the way out, Giles is like, "Garbage for garbage" is a pretty good line. Like, he's like, "Thanks, son."
Yeah. And the lady is there. She's like, "Hey, where's my money?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
And then her brothers walk out.
Yeah.
And they're big guys.
Yeah.
And they start chasing.
He's immediately running.
Yeah.
Runs through the Starlight.
Yeah.
They chase him. He runs. This is when he goes to the punk club that we were talking about earlier. He comes out of there.
Yeah.
After being like, "Oh, Mimi defeated me in a game of let's manage these girls."
Yeah.
And immediately walks out, and the guy's like, "Hey, pay my sister some money," and he's like, "Ah, fuck off." Shoots him. Yeah.
Shoots him right in the chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, he's still alive in 1980 in a wheelchair.
Cut to 1980. He's in a wheelchair. The referendum fails, which is apparently a good thing.
I don't know. Are we supposed to be happy? I'm not sure who's.
Yeah. We still have Quebec here.
Hooray / dang. I don't know which one.
And he's in Toronto when that happens, and they all congratulate each other. Mm-hmm. And then he calls Adriana, and he's like, "Oh, I just want to call, say I love you. Let me talk to
Junior.
Yeah. And he goes on the phone, and she has a baby. Mm-hmm. And they're still together.
I guess. Yeah. Or like at least friendly. And
at least friendly.
He's in the kid's life.
Maybe he's trying to be a better father than he was.
Yeah.
And that's the end. I'm sorry if this one was a little more hectic.
Yeah.
Because it's just so many different storylines all intersecting and dissecting. And
what would you say overall? Like, did you I know you said it was a little too meaty, a little too much going on.
A little too much going on. I think that most of the actors are real good. Justin Chatwin, not good, unfortunately.
Goku was the weakest part of the movie.
Goku was pretty weak. But I like this overall. I think this would be like a light recommend for me. Oh, that was something that we were going to do this episode because I have made it. And this was a suggestion of exciting. Producer Aaron. Produced a good idea.
Doing something good around here. Jesus Christ.
He's not just a pretty face.
That's why we keep him behind the camera.
He suggested that we have our own Letterboxd account, which we now do, where we will give a rating to every movie that we see collectively. So what would you... I would give this... Like, out of 5 stars, I'd give this a 3.
Okay. I would probably go 4. I liked it. I thought the performances were all good. Mm-hmm. I don't mind the bilingual thing.
That might have ruined the experiments for me a little bit.
It helps when you can read the other part that you don't understand. Yeah. And I thought the performances were good. The music, like I said, I loved the music. Aside from the tragic endings, which I think reflect the time.
Yes, and it's what the story is about.
Yeah. And but it was good. I really enjoyed it.
So 3.5.
3.5.
3.5 stars.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that is our episode on Funkytown. So if you guys liked this episode and like the show, please follow us and share the show with anyone you'd like. You can follow us at Absolutely Obscure Podcast on Instagram, Threads, the other ones,
LinkedIn,
MySpace, and if you can also send us any comments or any suggestions for what maybe a movie that we could do to our email, absoluteobscurepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you to producer Aaron Campbell. He's the best.
Aaron B. Campbell on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yep. You can follow us too individually on The True Rory.
The True Rory and Real Funny Josh.
Yeah.
And thank you to Matt Prince for our theme music.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching, listening. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.